So let's dive into a really fascinating question in engineering today. How do we give an AI agent, well, a brain? We're not just talking about an AI that can spit out a sonnet. We're talking about something that can actually take on a complex project. How do we give it the context it needs to be a real collaborator? It's one thing to ask an AI for a little creative piece of text. That's a pretty self-contained task. But what happens when the goal is way, way bigger? Something with tons of steps, dependencies, and all these project-specific rules. How do you actually make an AI a reliable partner in something like that? All right, so let's picture our AI agent. We've given it a mission, a pretty tough one. Jump into a codebase it's never seen before and build a major new feature. Now, if you do that without any guidance, it's like dropping a new hire into a company on their first day with zero onboarding. They're just lost. Where would it even start? Okay, so this is the standard playbook for an agent. It gets some input, it thinks, it plans, it figures out some tasks, and it uses its memory and tools. But here's the catch. Look at the memory and tools boxes. How on earth does it know which tools are the right ones for this job, or what memories are relevant for this specific project? This generic loop just isn't going to cut it. And that brings us to the agent's first day on the job. Just like any good engineer, its first move isn't to start hammering out code. Nope. The first thing it does is look for the project manual, to learn the local rules of the road. And that manual, well, it has a name, AGENTS.md. You should think of this as a standardized onboarding doc, but one that's written for an AI. It's this central file right in the project's repository that gives the agent all the high-level context it needs to get its bearings and work effectively in this new environment. So what's actually in this file? Well, it's pretty much everything a new developer would need to know. We're talking about the project's architecture, how to build and test everything, any weird coding styles they have to follow, even stuff like contribution guidelines and common workflows. This is the absolute foundation of its project-specific knowledge. But look, having the general project manual is one thing. That's not always enough. For our agent's mission, adding that complex new feature, it might need a very specialized capability that you're just not going to find in the main guide. So let's say this new feature involves pulling data out of a PDF. Now that's a very specific, kind of niche job. Instead of trying to reinvent the wheel and figure out PDF processing from scratch, the agent can do something smarter. It can look for a pre-packaged skill that's designed for exactly this. And this is a really, really important idea. A skill is so much more than just a fancy prompt. It's a whole package, a reusable module that bundles up instructions, reference docs, and even little bits of code. It's like a specialized toolkit that can temporarily turn our general-purpose agent into a PDF processing expert. Okay, so let's pop the hood and see what actually makes these skill packages so powerful. And maybe more importantly, what makes them so darn efficient. The secret sauce here is a really clever concept called progressive disclosure. The idea is, instead of just dumping a mountain of documentation into the AI's context window, which would totally overwhelm it, a skill reveals information in layers, giving the agent just what it needs, right when it needs it. And this table lays it out perfectly. Check it out. Level 1, at startup, the agent just loads the metadata, a tiny little description of the skill. Costs almost nothing in tokens. Then, level 2, only when the skill is actually needed does it load the main instructions. And finally, level 3, only if those instructions point to something else, like a script or a template, does it load that. It's an incredibly smart way to manage the token budget. And the structure is key. A skill isn't just one file, it's this whole organized directory. You've got the main instructions in a scale.md file, a quick reference guide for a cheat sheet, a folder for helper scripts it can actually run, and even templates for things like checklists. It's a complete, self-contained package of knowledge and tools. Okay, this all sounds amazing, right? We've got our agents.md for project context, and we've got these specialized skills for specific tasks. But this leads to a pretty big question. Yeah, exactly. Who on earth has the time to sit down and write out all these super detailed standard operating procedures and then package them all up into these neat little skill directories? I mean, that sounds like a colossal amount of work. And this is the real aha moment. This is the game changer. We can actually use AI to build the instruction manuals for other AIs. There can be an automated service that just takes a high-level goal from a user, looks at whatever documents you give it, and then generates the entire skill package from scratch. It writes that main skill.md file, the standard operating procedure that will guide the agent's behavior. Then it goes through and creates all the supporting stuff, the reference guides, the templates, even the code scripts. This automated context engineering is what makes this whole thing actually work at scale. So what we're looking at is a fundamental shift in how we work with these models. We're moving away from the old way, these giant one-off prompts that are expensive and a nightmare to maintain, and we're moving toward this new world of modular, reusable, token-efficient skills that can be automatically generated and version controlled, just like the rest of our code. This entire approach, from the AGENTS.md file to the automated skill creation, it all points to a much, much bigger idea. Actually designing our software and our systems from day one to be ready for AI agents. And take a look at this. This is a blueprint for that future. An architecture where AI agents are treated as first-class citizens. You see components built specifically for them, like gateways with agent-based security, middleware that's aware of context, and data systems designed for precise retrieval. We're going to be building our systems with the expectation that AIs will be talking to them. It kind of reminds me of this quote, APIs were the internet's first great unifier. They created a shared language for software to talk to other software. Right now, AI agents don't really have that universal language, and that's why these new standards like AGENTS.md and these patterns like modular skills, that's why they're so important. They are the very first steps toward building that common ground. And that really leaves us with one final big question to chew on. As we get better and better at creating these sophisticated onboarding manuals and these automated toolkits, are we just building smarter automation? Or are we actually laying the foundation for the first true generation of digital colleagues? Ones that can learn, adapt, and truly collaborate with us on our most complex work? It's definitely something to think about.